We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Alderman Emrick.
Here.
Maxheimer.
Yes.
Neaville.
Here.
Phillips.
Yeah.
Rentmeister.
Yes. Okay, before we get started, I'd just like to make a couple quick comments. This is the first time I've ever really held the town hall, so just kind of not to know what to expect. I thank everyone for coming. If we could, I'm going to have all the city officials up here introduce themselves. My name is Matt Bobell. I currently serve as the mayor of Mount Pulaski. Just so everyone has an idea of who the aldermen are, in case you didn't. Go ahead and start with Darin.
My name is Darin Phillips. I'm part of Ward 2, which would be like the north side of town.
Joyce Maxheimer, Ward 1.
Willie, Rentmeister, Ward 1. I'm Jordan Klein. I'm the city attorney. I'm not an elected official, but happy to be here.
Cowan, the city clerk.
Andrew Neaville, Ward 3, which is the southwest corner of town.
Tim Emrick, Ward 2.
All right, and like I said, thanks for coming, everybody. We're going to try to get through the regular part of our meeting in an orderly fashion. That way we can get to what the purpose of this is to talk about. And if you look at the agenda on the miscellaneous side, we are here to discuss the businesses regarding recreational marijuana within our city limits. Is there any public comments on the agenda items disregarding any type of recreational marijuana businesses? Into our reports, please.
I don't really have a whole lot. Everything's still going well. So, no, I don't have anything else right now.
Thank you. Water and sewer?
We really did not have a committee meeting to report at this time.
Anything for water and sewer? Streets and alleys?
We did not have a committee meeting at all, but I would also have one comment there. The leaf vac that's been topic of discussion for the past several months is back in service and has been for the last 3 days and moving along quite swiftly. So that's pretty much what I have there.
Good to hear.
What did the repair costs end up?
I called out there to inquire on that today, and the bill is not finalized at this time, so I do not know.
Anything else from the streets and alleys? Finance?
I have deposits for the last 2 weeks. Includes property tax from the county, total of $74,231.74.
Anything for Tricia? Is there any public comments on the non-agenda items? That's always an option to speak about whatever you may need, whether or not regarding recreational marijuana or not, so I'll leave that open for anyone. Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda.
Abbott and Associates, $1,762.50. Ameren, $1,313.44. EDR Economic Development Resources, $2,537.20. Erickson Davis Murphy Attorney, $905. INB, $2,112.12. INB Visa, $1,655.16. Interstate Billing Service, $763.04. Noto Technology, $1,401.
Any questions on the bills? I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Emrick.
Yes.
Maxheimer.
Yes.
Neaville.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Rentmeister.
Yes.
Motion passes. That went fairly quick. That was hoping what I was kind of planning on. We will now get into the miscellaneous item of the agenda, which includes the discussion of businesses regarding recreational marijuana within our city limits. I've had the opportunity to get the Legion to accommodate people that would like to come and make a comment. And at this time, as long as we're in an orderly fashion, I'll allow everyone to speak. I don't have a problem with that. So at this time, I will open up to anyone that has any comments, including the Alderman. Tony Riggs.
Matt, I'd like to hear a comment from Tony. I have a grandson who is a deputy sheriff, and I know what his thoughts are. But I'd like to hear a comment from Tony.
Tony, would you be interested in sharing your
Sure,
thoughts?
sure. I know I read and heard earlier, I think last night on something about Illiopolis, you know, they were talking about how, you know, we approve this and, you know, how we go into the schools and discourage all this for the, you know, the kids. It just doesn't look, I feel the same way, it just doesn't look well. You know, we allow it here to be sold, but then we go into the schools and try to tell kids, hey, this is not a good choice. You know, these are not the good, so I'm not really crazy about it. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Tony.
Yes, Matt?
I got a question. I mean, along with what Tony's saying, I agree partially, but I don't understand why it would be treated any different than a tavern. Because we discourage our children from drinking as well, but we have a tavern that sells alcohol because it's legal. I mean, I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but I don't understand the difference between the two, I guess.
Very well said. Yes, sir?
Just to comment on that, drinking alcohol, as I understand it, police have a means, breathalyzer, to tell you whether you're drunk or not. But marijuana usage, from what I understand, again, they don't really have any tried and true methods for determining whether you're handicapped or whatever because of marijuana.
That's false.
That's false?
That's false.
Okay.
They use an eye, there's a eye measurement machine they use, and it measures the inside of the eye.
Does
It
our
can be done on
local,
the side of the road.
We do have, there are ways of testing, I mean, you can tell by the eyes, and then of course, you know, if they do become, if they're driving impaired and stuff, we do take them in.
But will it stand up in court?
It will.
do we have this eye test thing?
I do not have the eye test kit, no, I do not have that. But, there are classes that have been held that, you know, that I'm planning on going to that talk about, you know, the eye, the pupil size, and, that would help determine. But, you know, we treat the, you know, if it's a drug DUI, it's the same as a, you know, an alcohol. You're gonna get, we probably have them, you know, tested and, or
They,
blood drawn.
for alcohol, there's a direct measurement for whether or not you're drunk, a legal
Right.
0.08, whatever blood count. Are there definite measurements for marijuana use?
I don't have that at this moment, no, I
I believe that there are.
Well, maybe, let's raise our hands, please, so that way we can keep the meeting in as best order as we can. I will recognize you, I promise I will. Yes.
Well, I think that, you know, we need to look around at all the other towns, either our size or larger, that are turning it down. Well, this is a new thing, I mean, it's just, it has been around, I mean, yeah, they've been smoking so for a long time, but liquor's been around for a lot longer. So, around here, I would say. But anyway, I just think we build a brand new school, bring families in. If these other bigger towns are shutting it off, we're gonna end up with a lot of people that maybe aren't good for our society. That's all I'm gonna say.
But if I could comment on that, you know, I thought about that a lot the last several months. There's no one alive that was around when marijuana was last legal to consume. I don't think we have any idea what we can possibly expect. Yes.
Yeah, what is the city's stance that you're looking for? To allow a place to supply the drugs?
Okay.
Allow a safe zone?
We haven't passed anything. We're more to get here to get the public comment, but there's several different avenues that we can do. We can allow just a dispensary only within the city limits. We can allow a certain business that allows you to buy and consume on the premise. There's several different legal terms. I mean, I haven't read every word of the state law, but I mean, in a roundabout way, it's just whether or not we want to allow those types of businesses within our city limits and safe zones, whether or not it's a distance from a church, a distance from a school. That's something that we also have to determine when we write our ordinance.
Is there a tax on the marijuana that's dispensed?
There is, I
What's the
believe,
rate?
that you can do it up to 3%.
Yeah.
Tim, am I correct in that?
3% that we can levy. And it's on top of the existing sales taxes that are already in place.
Well, my own opinion, I don't think we should be a drug outlet for the cities around that vote no. And I don't think 2-3% is gonna pay back for the headache it's gonna cause in this small town. So my own thinking and my family's is no. Go to Springfield, buy it, go to Lincoln, buy it. But not Mount Pulaski. We got too many problems besides having drugs thrown on top of it. And besides, I didn't know the federal government ruled this legal.
It's, if I can interject and maybe address some of those questions, the issue that's up for the city council to decide is whether or not they want to allow the commercial sale and or distribution of cannabis. It's dispensaries is a word we've heard thrown around. Those are basically like the bar equivalent for alcohol. The dispensaries where you go and purchase. Grow houses is basically the alcohol equivalent of a brewery. So you can have cultivators, which is essentially the growing of it. We're not going to sell it, we're just going to ship it out of the city. So there's different levels of commercial sale, manufacture, distribution that the city could choose. It could choose all of them, it could choose none of them. If it does choose some combination of those, then the city can put limits on where that happens. Can it happen within a distance of a church or school or a nursing home, things like that. Under no circumstance is cannabis going to be legal in the streets or in the public. That would be limited to only the facilities that the city council allows, and then in its zoning ordinance permits to exist in a commercial space. So you're not going to, this is not an issue of whether or not the cannabis would be legal on the town square. That's not ever going to be legal. And no, the federal government has not given its blessing on this. Pursuant to the federal government, cannabis is still a Schedule I narcotic illegal drug. So this is the state of Illinois kind of diverging from the national norms.
Let's kind of change, if I could, Rick, sorry. We'll change things up a little bit here, and let's kind of go down the line of what the aldermen, if they could probably give a short scenario of what they've been thinking about the last couple months as we've been discussing that. Maybe give a stance, maybe not, that's entirely up to you. But just to comment on how you feel about the situation.
Make me start.
We don't have to, but we can. Adrian, you go first.
My personal take on it is marijuana is becoming illegal in Illinois. You will be able to buy it and bring it home, and we can't do anything about that. That's going to happen. What we can do is we don't have to allow it to be sold here, at least initially, until we start seeing what it looks like down the road. In a couple years, if other towns allow these things and it's not an issue, I think that's a good time to allow it. I don't think we need to be make such easy access to it right out of the gate. I think it's too much like a floodgate, and that's the worst time to make that happen. My take on grow houses or something like that, if somebody did want to put up $1 million business or something, I'd be okay with that. I know that's kind of down the middle, but that's what I'm at.
Anyone else care to go next? Darin?
All right. Personally, from a city standpoint, I'm for it, basically because of the potential income, but also with the understanding that it's a very, very costly operation to start anything related to the recreational marijuana, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I don't foresee anybody jumping to come here real fast to set up a shop, when there are lots of Springfield or any kind of campus town, like Champaign, Bloomington, and other areas like that. There's so many state regulations as far as where they can be, how far they have to be from schools and playgrounds, just like everything else. They're so tight on basically the only places you can use it, if you do use it, is at home or in a location in a town that has been, like they said, voted on and accepted. But I look at it more from a strictly a possible business standpoint of potential revenue, especially on the side of, like you mentioned, the possible grow houses or cultivation centers, stuff like that. Which again, I don't see anybody racing in here to set up shop. I don't think it's a big concern. And it's also something that once we do make a decision, it's not set in stone. It can always be readdressed. That's my opinion.
My thoughts, I wrote down several different things here and have been doing a lot of reading and everything on it. They talk about the adult candy stores and what's out there with the gummy bears, some laced with and some not. I'm concerned with children. They talk about lacing brownies with marijuana. I've heard stories of people that will go places and eat 1 or 2 brownies, and what if a child would eat brownies with, or gummy bears with it in there? That really, really bothers me. I clipped an article out here. There's not enough good science about the effect on humans. And the main reason for that research gap is that at the federal level, cannabis, medical or recreational, is an illegal Schedule I controlled substance, legally on par with heroin, LSD, and street fentanyl. That's why doctors can't technically prescribe it. They can only give you state-required permission to use it. More important, scientists can't buy it at dispensaries and study it in most labs. That research gap means only a handful of the common uses of cannabis are backed by substantial evidence from human clinical trials, according to a rigorous 2017 report from the National Academies of Science. They've been doing research on this. That was in 2017, and here we are at 19. When you go to a doctor, they're not going to give you a prescription that, yeah, it's okay, or talk with you, yeah, it's okay, and do this. Yes, first time I ever heard the word cannabis, I thought, I wonder what they mean by that word, and that was back in the late 60s, and I'm like, I, at that particular time, was on a jury for somebody that had cannabis in their car. I thought, well, I'll learn something here. And I did, and here we are in 2019, and now we're wanting to say, okay, it's okay to do this. Another thing that I had read was the effect that it can have on an individual, whether it's somebody in their 20s or 30s or 70s or whatever, that sometimes if you eat something, it may affect you within 30 minutes, and the next person it may take several hours. If somebody's eaten something at 30 minutes, oh, I haven't had any effect, I think I'll have another brownie. And therefore, down the road, then it really hits, I mean, I just, there's lots to be learned about it yet, and it just bothers me.
From day one, I've really been torn. We brought it up in our council meeting, and I talked to Matt, and we brought it up as, I think that this is why we're here now, is to try to get everybody's opinion, what the city wants. And me as a person, I'm sitting back torn, but I want to do what's right for what everybody wants and what you guys want us to do. I see pros and cons both ways. I know my home life doesn't want it, so it depends on what everybody wants as far as the city, and that's why all you guys are sitting here now.
I've been for it from the beginning. Building upon what Darin talked about and the gentleman out in the crowd, the social cost from this is ongoing. It's already going on right now, even when it's illegal. They're going to get it from somewhere. It might be Lincoln. It could be anywhere. It's a legal product. I view it as no different than alcohol or tobacco. I understand what Tony's talking about, but we try to discourage teenage drinking, teenage smoking, but yet you can buy it across the street. I see it no different than that. The cannabis laws or ordinances in this sense is going to be no different than liquor licenses that we issue as a city. And so I kind of view it as if we're going to ban tobacco or cannabis, why aren't we doing it with alcohol if everybody's against that type stuff? So the logic of those arguments don't add up to me. Something else I had was an opportunity to go to a cultivator a couple weeks ago in Litchfield, Illinois. And from that tour, I can tell you this is a very tightly controlled business at the present time. And the one thing I did take away from it is that at the present time, with the federal government on its current position on it, you cannot import from other states the cannabis. So at the present time, the only cannabis that can be sold, medicinal right now until we have recreational January 1st, is grown in Illinois. The outfit that I visited, they're going to double their workforce in the next year. So in a sense, if you're against it, you're almost against Illinois jobs, and that's kind of a buzzword in this time frame. You know, with this product, we do have the opportunity to recoup some of this social cost, but just throwing our hands up and saying, no, we're not going to deal with it here means that we still have the cost, but no revenue to offset it, even at a minimum. So going forward, that's my position at the present time.
Do you have any kids?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you a question. How many semis have been stopped on 55 full of drugs coming in from Mexico? If they're not supposed to be here. Trying to say that they're not supposed to buy it anything else in Illinois. I think that's wrong.
I think he's in terms of what's sold from dispensaries. It's, everything is tagged from.
If they can bring drugs in from Mexico, they can bring something in from Indiana.
Okay.
But they can't sell legally. Here's the deal. In Illinois, the way it's currently structured, every plant of marijuana is tagged and booked. We have a system called BioTrack that is maintained by the state. There's 12 agencies involved. The agency I work for is also involved. They're going to track every plant from what they call the clone seed to the dispensary to the person it's ultimately sold from. So if they're going to be bringing in illegal drugs, they can't do it because this system is that tight, believe it or not.
I'm gonna tell you right, anything that binds to conceive the body can achieve. If
Right.
they need to get it done, they'll do it, so don't say it can't be done.
Well, that's always the case. There's illegal cigarettes out there, you know, that are not stamped and all that.
That's what I'm trying to say. Don't say that it's set in stone because it's not.
Well, we're creating a legal option at least, to try to, you know, dissuade what you're talking about.
I just think we need to wait and see how all this pans out, and then look down the road and make sure that we're in the right direction. Before we jump in, that's all I'm saying.
Well, when's a good time to jump in?
I don't care when you jump in, you can jump in tonight, doesn't bother me one way or the other.
Well, I'm just saying, as a state, you know, we're gonna catch up with the rest of it.
That's
So,
okay. Sometimes you're better off to catch up.
well, that's what we're doing today in this state, so.
Because I don't think the money's gonna be that great as far as tax wise, anyway.
Well, not when they're taxing at 30%, so.
There was a couple of people that had their hands up that put them down since we kind of spoke, so I'm going to go ahead and try to follow in that order from what my memory was. Rick?
I just have a question about, on the revenue side of things, if they're, the grow houses or the cultivation type things, is there still tax revenue that can be derived from that part of it?
No.
No.
Property taxes.
Other than the property taxes, I do.
Okay.
All the sales taxes is exempt for resale until it's sold to the end user.
You had your hand up back there too. Is there something you wanted to comment on?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there's been so many towns that have already said no, you know, and it's basically just on the stigma though. You know, we have to get past that. For every single dollar that goes past their town, we can make it sink into our town, where we can make our buildings better, we can make our structures better, our infrastructure, our schools. It's just, for me, this is just one more time for us just to say, nope, there goes the money right down the road.
Thank you. Michelle.
I agree with Darin. I agree with Tim. Cannabis has been around for a long time. Joyce, when you talk about brownies, when you talk about the gummy bears, you know, when you go into the medical marijuana, I mean, the gummy bears don't look like the gummy bears that you buy at Dollar General. They look completely different. I work for a physician who has her medical marijuana license. So, I mean, it's out there. There's people that use that from the time in their 20s. I've had people that's in their 90s that use medical marijuana. It's a fact. It's going to happen January 1st, whether we want it to or not. We're not going to stop it. So, and it's just like anything else. You got cigarettes, you got vaping, you've got, now we're going to have medical marijuana. It's controlled, and it's got big time control factors. No, you can't go up to the bar uptown and sit out on his patio and smoke a joint. Although somebody the other night was having a regular joint out there, and it's like, come on. But it's just, you can't do that. And so, and I'm sure you're gonna have your hands full on some of that, because people are gonna try it. But it's the money thing. I mean, if Macon County is said, no, they're not interested. Well, they're dumb, because Macon County could be making a lot of money because they've got a lot more ground to cover. If somebody wants to come in here, who knows if they do or not, because like they said, there's a lot of money involved to come in, find a place, number one. You're not gonna wanna build something, but if you could find a place away from a school, away from a church, and all of that. But you're not gonna have your high schoolers gonna be standing around wanting to sniff at the doors to try to get in, because they're not gonna be allowed in. But I think it's detrimental to be able to open your minds to the fact that, should we think about this to have it available if somebody would say, hey, we're thinking about doing this, and be able to at least talk with that party to see if they would really be interested in a dispensary and make that available to Mount Pulaski, to, you know, we've been taxed to death. We're looking at an empty lot from a school, and it's hurting our town. Are we gonna have new folks coming into here? I don't know. If this could bring in revenue, that would be wonderful. Because if the people don't come, we got a big building that we need to pay for. So.
Thank you.
I don't partake, but we can't close the door because it's gonna be here.
I'd just like to say I support measures for bringing recreational marijuana into Pulaski.